Chapter 50. Leadership Succession. Numbers 27, 12 to 23. And the Lord said unto Moses, Get thee up into this Mount Abarim, and see the land which I have given unto the children of Israel. And, when thou hast seen it, thou also shalt be gathered unto thy people, as Aaron thy brother was gathered. For ye rebelled against my commandment in the desert of Zin, in the strife of the congregation, to sanctify me at the water before their eyes, that is, the water of Meribah in Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin. And Moses spake unto the Lord, saying, Let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation, which may go out before them, and which may go in before them, and which may lead them out, and which may bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord's be not as sheep which have no shepherd. And the Lord said unto Moses, Take thee Joshua the son of Nun, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay thine hand upon him. And set before him Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation, and give him a charge in their sight. And thou shalt put some of thine honour upon him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may be obedient. And he shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall ask counsel for him after the judgment of Urim before the Lord. At his word shall they go out, and at his word they shall come in, both he and all the children of Israel with him, even all the congregation. And Moses did as the Lord commanded him, and he took Joshua, and set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation. And he laid his hands upon him, and gave him a charge, as the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses. Numbers 27, 12 to 23. At the beginning, it is well at this point to call attention to an obvious fact of biblical literature, namely, its detailed and repetitive character, as in verse 21. At his word they shall go out, and at his word they shall come in, both he and all the children of Israel with him, even all the congregation. Scholars call this the Hebraic style, and this merely gives it a name. It is no explanation. The answer is that it is specific and repetitive because it is legal language. All the Bible, from beginning to end, is God's law word, and it has the character of legal language over the ages, specific, detailed, and repetitive. The judgment on Moses is the saddest part of this book. We can, with justice, say that it was in part merciful, in that Moses was spared the problems of the conquest, and this is certainly true. All the same, it meant that Moses would not be present at the climax of all his labours. Moses had been guilty of anger and despair at a point where God's grace and miraculous power were being made manifest. He had limited his vision to the facts before him, instead of seeing all things in terms of God's supernatural and total power. He had given too much weight to the sin of the people and too little weight to the power of God. This was serious because Moses was the leader of God's clerisy. At all times, his vision had to be governed not by the evils of the human scene before him, but by the power and the promises of God. In a Christian sense, we must echo the poet's words. The world is too much with us, a disastrous fact. We must not cloud our vision by seeing only what this world is and does. To do so is to ignore God and His world. There is always more to history than we see. The book of Esther never once mentions the name of God, It goes out of its way to avoid doing so, even as it shows the marvelous predestinating providence of God working behind, in, over, and beneath all things to make all things work together for good in terms of His sovereign purpose. Romans 8:28. Joseph Parker made a telling point with regard to this text. He observed that here God offends us morally. We want, he pointed out, a happy finish here and now. Our vision is time-bound, whereas God sees from eternity to eternity, and Moses had an eternal reward awaiting him. Moses' death would be on top of Mount Abarim, or Nebo, Deuteronomy 34:1, the modern Nebo. However, before the actual time of death and the subsequent invasion of Canaan, there was an interim of some time wherein Moses, in Deuteronomy, reviewed the law, including key additions to it. Deuteronomy's discourses were given to the families and to the children for their instruction. His instruction was in God's law and its universal application. Abraham Kunin, 1828 to 1891, was a very skeptical scholar, observed that there are only 3 religions with a universal faith: Judaism, Christianity, and Mohammedanism. All others are partial in scope and limited in their application. Some would restrict this Catholicity to Christianity, but it is noteworthy that all 3, in some degree, recognize the biblical revelation, and only Christianity does so fully. Without biblical faith, men and religions have both a false and a limited perspective and future. This is not all. Biblical faith makes a man's life and death significant. This is most true of Old Testament Judaism and especially Christianity. In Scripture, a deathbed benediction and instruction is very important. Until recently, it was regarded as a sad event to die suddenly without the opportunity to gather round all one's descendants to instruct and bless them. We now have a reverse situation because of the prevalence of humanism. A very important figure in avant-garde art was Marcel Duchamp. He was, at the least, a transvestite, going under the name Rose Selavé, C'est la vie, possibly a homosexual. His life was dedicated to the death of meaning. The goal of his art was that it should be a realm of non-understanding. Duchamp opposed the idea of law. He was against interpretation as futile. Duchamp liked machines because they had no taste and no feelings. Machines are also anonymous. He insisted that there are no problems because problems are inventions of the mind, and he was against the mind and meaning. We are told that he thundered against retinal or focused and realistic painting because it was governed by the eye, and the eye needs to think, to unify, to be intelligent. While he loved the machine, he was against what he called bad sciences, which are exact and which operate according to order and measure. Duchamp was the modern mind developed to the full in its humanism. It has no regard for life, death, or the future. What marks Moses from this point on is his zealous concern to prepare all the people and us and all mankind to the end of time for their responsibilities to the past, present, and future. He prepares all who will listen, and he ordains Joshua as his God-given successor. He lays his hands on Joshua. The Hebrew uses different words for the laying on of hands in blessing and the laying on of hands to transfer guilt to a sacrificial animal or to commission a successor. There is no self-pity whatsoever in Moses. His one concern is the future of God's kingdom. The greatness of Moses is very apparent here. A man reared as a prince of Egypt, he had become an outlaw for his people's sake. Then their deliverer and leader, whom they did not appreciate, and now he faced death with serenity. His prayer in verses 16 and 17 is for a godly successor. What was now needed was a military leader who was also a man of God, and this was Joshua. This has been called the first example of what was later called apostolic succession, but this was one ordered by God, not by man. The succession was neither by blood relationship, as with kings, nor by election, as with churches. It was entirely God's ordering. Thus, while a parallel is clear, an identification of the two kinds of succession would be false. In verse 17, the true leader and successor is described as one who goes out before them. That is, he leads the way. He's a trailblazer, not a follower. What we have today is a singular lack of leadership because officials are governed by polls, by the media, and by intellectuals who believe that wisdom was born with them and may well die when they do. Job 12:2. The result is dereliction, not advancement. The form of government cannot overcome this problem. It is faith and character which alone supply the necessary ingredient for leadership. The current emphasis on elections as the key to the salvation of the body politic is absurd. Would the mafia or any criminal league be improved by elections? Elections are not of themselves an evil, far from it. But the modern temper from the days of the defenders of the divine right of kings to the present belief in some kind of divine right of democracy is absurd, if not evil, as have been the quote-unquote remedies of fascism, national or international socialism, dictatorships, or anything else. Rule and authority are moral facts. They cannot be gained by any formal polity, whether in church or state. Episcopacy, Presbyterianism, and Congregationalism are alike politics highly productive of great evils when separated from God's law word and practiced by men lacking faith and character. Not surprisingly, in our time, as in other like decadent eras, there is an absence of good leadership in church and state because the people will not have it. Israel only had it at this point because God provided it. Not surprisingly, as the book of Judges makes clear, on their own, the people were quickly enslaved. The chosen people demonstrated that, apart from God's grace, they were worthless. Their existence was simply all of grace.